My name's Brandon and this is Cartoon Network Video Game History, a show where I take a look back on all of the video games based on Cartoon Network shows and retrospectively review them. It's taken a very long time, but we've finally arrived at some more modern cartoons. Steven Universe is making its video game debut. Steven Universe Attack the Light was released on April 2, 2015 for Apple, Android and Kindle Fire devices. That's right, this is a mobile game. Longtime fans of the channel might be scratching their heads at the moment. Haven't I always said that I wouldn't review Flash or mobile games in this series? Well, yes, that's true. And nothing is changing going forward. I still won't be reviewing these games in this particular series for the most part. However, mobile games have matured over time. While they might have started out being relatively simple, like Doodle Jump, today they are full-fledged experiences. That means Steven Universe Attack the Light is getting its very own review. I'm not too knowledgeable about the Cartoon Network mobile games, so if they have more titles like this, please let me know. I'd love to cover them in depth. Attack the Light was developed by Grumpy Face Studios, who are newcomers to Cartoon Network video game history, but not to Cartoon Network entirely. See, they developed mobile titles based on Gumball, Regular Show, and Adventure Time. They developed a reputation of being a trustworthy mobile developer for the network. So when it came time to develop a full-fledged game based on Steven Universe, they were the ones chosen. Grumpy Face has seen quite a bit of success with this series. Attack the Light was enough of a success that it received a sequel in 2017, this time on home consoles. This was the first time Grumpy Face had made a non-mobile game, so it's a pretty big deal. Initially when I started researching for this video, I thought there were only 2 Steven Universe games. However, while doing some digging for this video, I came across a title I had never seen before, Steven Universe Unleash the Light. This seemed strange to me. I had literally never heard of this game in my life before, and it didn't even have its own Wikipedia page. The only mention of it was down the bottom of a page in a section mentioning all of the Cartoon Network games. One quick Google search later and my mind was blown. Steven Universe Unleash the Light actually exists, and it seems like nobody even knows about it. There's a third Steven Universe game. Oh my god, I have to tell the world about this. Did you guys know about Steven Universe Unleash the Light? Shut the hell up. So after doing a bit of reading, I think I know why this game has received much less publicity. Unleash the Light is exclusive to Apple's new gaming initiative, Apple Arcade. Anybody still remember that? Apple Arcade is a subscription service that gives you a ton of games, and one of the games announced at this big reveal event for the platform was Unleash the Light. Unfortunately, this seems to have backfired for the game. As I said, there's no Wikipedia page for it, and the game isn't mentioned on Grumpy Face's Wikipedia page either. The game is walled off behind a subscription service, and when you search Steven Universe on the App Store, the free trial version is the 7th option for me. It's clear that Unleash the Light has a massive marketing and discoverability problem. I'm getting sidetracked though. Let's bring the conversation back to today's game. This game was published by Cartoon Network Games and is the first time we've encountered this in-house publishing arm. With that said, let's check in on this game's score on Metacritic. Oh good lord, it has a 91. Don't adjust those screens, folks. That number you are seeing right now is 100% accurate. Sure, Attack the Light only has the bare minimum 4 reviews required to get a Metascore. Sure, none of the major outlets even reviewed the game. Sure, mobile games tend to be looked at through a different lens than console games. But holy shit, 91! This is legitimately incredible for a Cartoon Network game. The best we've come across so far are scores in the high 60s, so Attack the Light's critical reception has blown everything out of the water. I love Steven Universe, so I was going to be pumped for this regardless, but seeing how well the game fared with reviewers has got me next level excited. Before I dive into Attack the Light, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the only way to make sure you catch all my upcoming reviews, including the sequels to this game, OKKO, and my Nickelodeon video game history series, which isn't too far away. But now, on with the review. Recently, the overwhelming majority of Cartoon Network games I've covered have taken massive inspiration from other classic genres and famous titles. Steven Universe Attack the Light is no exception. Those games have usually lifted ideas from old school franchises, like The Legend of Zelda. However, Grumpy Face Studios go for something more modern here. Paper Mario is the inspiration, which means we've got an RPG on our hands. RPGs have been as rare as gold throughout this series. We've basically had Code Lyoko Fall of Xana, and that's it. In Attack the Light, you take control of all 4 gems as you explore 5 unique worlds, battling enemies through interactive turn-based gameplay. Traditional turn-based gameplay can often be a big turn-off to people, which is something the Paper Mario series addresses by making battles more interactive. While you will be choosing your different attacks each turn, once a gem starts to attack, you've still got work to do. Every time an attack lands, you'll see a star prompt pop up. Tapping this will deal bonus damage to your opponents. Similarly, when it's your opponent's turn, you still need to pay attention. Every attack that's fired at you has the potential to be blocked and mitigate some of the damage. Getting the bonus on your attacks is a piece of cake. It's extremely rare that you'll mess up the timing. However, things can be a little trickier on defense. Unless you've seen a specific attack before, it's tough to get the timing right. And even if you've seen the attack 100 times before, it might still be a challenge. I really enjoyed this dynamic and it felt right. However, it gets a little messy when stronger monsters are thrown into the fray. At different times, there are enemies who will basically be able to kill you in one shot if you don't perfectly defend every attack. These aren't boss encounters either. Some of the enemies that you encounter randomly in levels will be strong enough to bring you to your knees if your blocking isn't up to snuff. Once it's your turn in battle, you'll notice you have a star count in the top left corner. This determines what moves you can make. Each gem has a unique set of moves, with each move costing a different amount of stars. These moves can cost as little as 1 star, all the way up to 9 stars, which is the ability to fuse Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. While the gems are mostly focused on different styles of attacking, Steven acts as your support character. Steven and his cheeseburger backpack are in charge of items, as well as other supplementary effects. Steven can boost various stats for the team, as well as dish out health boosts and use his protective bubble on the gems. At the start of a new turn, you're always given 5 more stars, so if you don't use all your stars in one turn, you can stack them. Personally, I didn't see much need for this. Outside of the fusion attack, which can only be used once per battle, there's like 1 or 2 attacks that require more than 5 stars. Throughout my playthrough, it felt like it made much more sense to use all of your stars every single turn. You're given many items that boost the amount of stars you have too. The game isn't shy about giving you these, so conserving stars never really felt necessary. As you travel around different worlds, you'll find treasure chests, which is where you obtain items most of the time. There's also a slim chance of enemies dropping items when defeated. These items cover a lot of familiar territory for anyone who's ever played an RPG before. Healing, reviving, stat increases, it's all here. Interestingly, you can only use 1 item per turn. I love how the entire combat system seems to be based around planning and strategy. You have to plan your attack strategy at the start of your turn due to the star limit, and having the items restricted to once per turn forces you to ask yourself what is the most pressing issue for you to address. Turn-based RPGs can often fall into a lull where you're just mashing buttons to get through run-of-the-mill fights, but battles here require a degree of thought most of the time. I say most of the time because obviously as you get stronger, you don't have to think too much about some of the encounters with the easiest enemies. Each of the gems feels really distinct too. The way they attack isn't too unique from one another, but there's just this intrinsic quality to their movesets that set them apart. Garnet feels like a powerhouse, Pearl feels like she attacks with absolute precision, while Amethyst feels like a bit of a wildcard. Like any RPG ever, winning battles will hand out chunks of experience points. All 4 characters level up independently, with new unlocks available each time you cross to the next level. Most of Steven's unlocks give him new buffs to use on the gems in battles. For the gems, they all level up differently. You'll be presented with new moves, stat increases, and other things, and you'll have to choose between 3 options. I liked these choices as you could build each character in your own way. It was also nice that I could say no to buffing a move that I never used in favour of increasing the attack stat. You end up feeling a sense of ownership with these characters. It feels like it's your own team that you've constructed, even though they look the same on the outside. There are also moments where Steven will chat with the gems about what's going on, and you'll get 2 or 3 dialogue options to choose from. The way you respond results in a certain gem getting extra XP. If you respond favourably to Equip from Amethyst, she'll get a boost, but if you respond in a more mature tone, Pearl might get the boost instead. The other thing I should mention about the battle system is the existence of badges. You'll collect these throughout your journey, each of which has a unique use. Badges are equipped to gems and can do anything from having your XP grow quicker, to the chance for your character to revive themselves if they die. Unfortunately, badges are one of the aspects that I had a bit of a gripe with. I don't have a problem with their actual function, but the presentation of them needed a little work. You see, badges have a limited time use. You can equip them and use them for a time, but eventually they'll be removed from your team and have a cooldown period. The part that I didn't like is that there's absolutely no messaging around this. How long do badges stay on for? No idea. How long do badges need to cool down for? I also have no idea. Because of this, I would often forget all about the badges, to the point where I could go through most of a world without equipping a single badge. I got better at reminding myself to check the badges as the game went on, but some sort of indication from the game would have been nice. The other aspect to Attack the Light's gameplay is the exploration. As I mentioned, there are 5 different worlds here, each of which have 4 main levels to travel through. Movement here is extremely simple. All you have to do is swipe in the direction you want to go, and the gang will move to the next screen. It might seem a little basic at first, but I think it's perfect. It gives the game a faster pace, which works so nicely for a game on mobile devices. Not many people want to whip out their phone to play a game where they slowly trudge around. In general, Attack the Light's controls are perfect. It probably helps that they're taking inspiration from the Paper Mario series, which had released a game on a touchscreen-based console previously. There was the odd occasion where tapping something felt a little imprecise, but it was a dream to control mostly. As you run around the world, you'll usually encounter enemies in set situations. In these cases, you get to attack first. However, there are also ambush scenarios which are random in nature. When you come across one of these, you'll be put on the back foot and have to defend yourself. I didn't care much for the ambush encounters, mostly because it made level exploration a little cumbersome. It was fine when I was just heading towards the level's warp pad, but frustrated the hell out of me when I was trying to explore every nook and cranny. Unlike, say, Pokemon where you can see the tall grass, or other RPGs where you can avoid the enemies that are on screen, in Attack the Light there's nothing you can do to avoid them. It's a shame that this can get so frustrating too, as exploring everything each level has to offer is so rewarding. Of course you'll find items and secret areas, but you'll also find paths to entirely new levels. Each world has at least a few of these, and it's almost always worth your while to find them because of the extra XP you'll find. That extra XP always comes in handy during the end of world boss battles. Every world in the game ends with a boss battle where the gems have to unite against a creature with a much larger health bar. I found these to be just okay. My biggest issue is that they feel too easy, to the point where run-of-the-mill enemy encounters can actually be considerably harder. You see, a random enemy encounter can see you facing anywhere up to 5 or 6 enemies at once. Obviously, this puts you at a distinct disadvantage, as you only have 3 characters who can attack. However, in most boss battles, you're the one with the upper hand, as you're usually in a 3v1 situation. Basically, all of the boss battles come down to you slowly chipping away at its health without ever being in danger. Steven being a support character who can't be stopped in any way means you can just basically infinitely heal characters in a situation like this, so it's pretty much impossible for the boss battles to be difficult. What are difficult are the gauntlet stages you can challenge after beating each boss. In these stages, you lose access to all of your items as you enter and proceed to face encounter after encounter. This provides a true challenge, but I also didn't feel like they were worth playing most of the time. Sure, you do get some extra XP, and it's a lot more enjoyable than just mindless grinding if you feel like you're a bit underleveled, but there was never any reward or satisfaction that made the slog feel worth it to me. For those that want an extra challenge and feel the game is too easy, you can always turn on Diamond Mode. This was an option introduced after the game had launched, which increases enemy health, increases the chances of large monsters appearing, and disables the visual prompts for blocking. I found the regular game to be enough of a challenge, so I wouldn't really recommend this. However, you can turn Diamond Mode on and off as you please, so there's no harm in trying it. A big part of any RPG is the story. An RPG without a story can become a pretty dry experience. In fact, I'd say most RPGs are carried by their stories, as RPG gameplay can often be very bland. The narrative in Attack the Light isn't anything spectacular, but I personally found that it was a fun little side story in the Steven universe. Both Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones-Quartey played a role in shaping the story and the game's general development, so it's oozing with the classic Steven Universe charm we know and love. Overall, fans of the show will enjoy it, even though it doesn't have any groundbreaking additions to the lore or anything. Visually, I thought the game looked pretty good. The environments are pretty samey, but I love the use of colour and the battle animations are great. A more stylized version of the show is on display here, but still captures all of the charm. It's a simple reproduction of the show, and I'm glad that they seem to have limited themselves on the graphical side of things. Additionally, the music is great too. Music is such a big part of Steven Universe, both in terms of background music and the actual songs they sing, so it was pretty important to get this right. You can definitely tell that the soundtrack came from a small team making a lower budget game, as it's a little bit limited in scope, but the tracks that are here are superb. I genuinely love Steven Universe Attack the Light. This isn't one of those situations where you can look at it and go, yeah, it's pretty good for a Cartoon Network game. It's not even just a genuinely good game in the way I've described previous Cartoon Network titles that I've praised. Attack the Light is a great game that I would recommend to anyone. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that this is the best Cartoon Network game I have played so far. Does it have the occasional hiccup with gameplay here and there? Sure. But the overall experience is so much fun. After playing through a bunch of less than stellar Adventure Time, Regular Show, and Ben 10 games in the past few weeks, this has been a breath of fresh air. Most times when I'm playing a game for review in this series, there's at least one moment where the game presents a big issue that makes me want to tear my hair out. For Attack the Light, that never happened. If you haven't already, go out and play this game. It costs like a few bucks, and you'll easily get more enjoyment out of it than any of the previous games I've reviewed. And for those of you looking to scratch that Paper Mario itch before Origami King comes out, you can't go wrong here. Next time I'll be reviewing Adventure Time, Finn and Jake Investigations. Not only do we have a new developer getting a crack at making an Adventure Time game, but it's also the first ever Cartoon Network game on the current generation of consoles. Will the leap in console power result in a leap in quality? Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.